Hello and welcome back to me and my screwdriver, the only channel that is reacting to Silohawk. I remember watching a couple of these guys' videos. I don't remember them like specifically, but I remember them being like quite solid. I think I watched the worst minigame in every Mario Party, and so he's made this video, the worst track in every Mario Kart. And I'm kind of doing a bit of Mario Kart content. I just recorded the Mario Kart World. Oh my god, oh my god, the Mario Kart World's character ranking. I did the Bearman 3600 reaction. So I'm kind of on a bit of a streak here. I want to keep it up for a little bit. What I'm gonna do, right, as I'm doing this, I'm gonna make a prediction for what I reckon he's gonna do, and then I'm gonna say what I would do for the worst track in that game. That's not all I have to say. I think we should get into it, right? Obviously, also go check him out. I'll link his stuff in the description.
Alright, you know me. I don't like to waste time, so screw the bloated intros, let's just jump straight in. The only restriction I placed on myself is that my pick for the worst track cannot be a circuit track. Why?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good restriction to place, you know? It just keeps the video more interesting. I think if I ever did a video like this, I'd probably do the same thing, because it's a thing, right? You just get to, like, DS, it's like figure 8 circuit. You do fucking, like, what's it, you're probably just gonna do Mario Kart Stadium. I know it's not technically a circuit, but, like, I feel like you'd count it. Or, like, Mario Circuit, even. That's a better example for Mario Kart 8. For fucking, Mario Kart 7? Does Mario Kart 7 have, like, a terrible stadium? I'm trying to remember. Oh, it's Toad Circuit. It's not Stadium Circuit. It's Toad Circuit. Yeah, you can see that as, like, bottom tier. Yeah, okay, I think that's a good restriction to place.
I don't know, it just seemed too obvious, and those tracks are intentionally basic anyways. Also, this is another video that is not censored, so babies beware. Super Mario Kart had 20 tracks, which is pretty impressive until you realize
Super Mario Kart, okay. Personally, my least favorite track in Super Mario Kart, I'm actually not going to say that one, because I'm hoping to at least still get the Super Mario Kart track ranking out. It's, like, literally done. I just need to, like, fix the editing, because it's, like, really fucked up. I say I, if I don't have someone else doing it. So I'm not going to say what I think he's going to say, what I'm going to say for this one. What I think he'll say, does he fall for the Bowser's Castle 2 being bad propaganda? That's actually the question. I'm going to make a bold claim and say no. I think he's going to be one of those, because Baby Park is in the thumbnail, right? So I think he's going to be one of those where it's like circle track equals bad, and so I'm going to say Cooper Beach 1 is what he's going to say is the worst track in the game.
that there are only 8 unique themes, including Rainbow Road. I mean, I get it. Super Mario Kart is literally half a megabyte in size, so they had to make the most of the limited storage space they had on that old-ass hardware. This also means that almost everything here is pretty dang similar.
Okay, it just looks weird looking at Super Mario Kart without like the bottom screen. It's strange.
People will probably tell you that they're all bad without giving them a second thought. I'm personally not one of those people. I know this game is ugly as sin, but I'm actually sort of fond of some of these layouts.
Come on, it's not that bad. It's not that bad looking. I think it's always got that charm to it, you know? I think any, like, older game has, like, a bit of charm to it.
At least how they are in some of the more recent games with some of the more modern controls. But there are 3 that stand out as being particularly bad in my eyes. Vanilla Lake 1, Donut Plains 3, and Koopa Beach 2. Vanilla Lake 1...
So I'm wrong. Of those? Okay, hang on, let me...
Particularly bad in my eyes. Vanilla Lake 1, Donut Plains 3, and Koopa Beach 2.
Why Koopa Beach 2 and why Donut Plains 3? I'm assuming he's gonna get into his reasoning. I'm very confused, because to me, Donut Plains 3, what I really like about Donut Plains 3 is it still has the simplicity of being a track that has like quite a lot of off-road, but still offers that bit of challenge through like the tight turns and also like the water being a very harsh obstacle. And I think that just like hopping over the bridge gimmick is just really interesting. And then for Koopa Beach 2, I think it's just like a really... I love Koopa Beach 2, man. The bits where it's like a really like tight bit where it's like you're trying to avoid the water, but also trying to avoid like the like bushes. You got that section where you go into like a lot of water and there's like quite a few cheap around. I just think it's a really nice track. I think of these 3, it's really going to go Vanilla Lake 1 because it's the only one that I think the ice physics aren't terrible, but I do think the I can definitely see why people don't like the ice blocks. I do think they're quite annoying. I think it depends on how they're laid out, which I think they are laid out bad in Vanilla Lake 1. I think they're laid out quite nicely in Vanilla Lake 2, to be quite easy to avoid. So, I guess, yeah, I guess Vanilla Lake 1. What are you gonna go for?
Vanilla Lake 1 is just sort of obnoxious of those bouncy ice blocks everywhere, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're used again in Vanilla Lake 2, but they're much
better,
easier
yeah.
to avoid
Yeah,
in that
come
one.
on.
Then you got Koopa Beach 2, which just feels sloppily designed with so much unused space. Like, what the fuck is this? Why does it...
It's an alternate path.
Sloppily designed with so much unused space. Like, what?
You like... Oh, I guess not. I don't know, man. Just kind of there, you know? I guess what you could do is you just kind of like, go through and then you go through here, you know? It's got like a... Yeah, I guess they could have blocked it off, but I don't think they needed to. Would criticism, but I'll let it slide.
What the fuck is this? Why does this part of the track exist? There's nothing here.
I guess they could have blocked it off, but I don't think that's a reason for it to be bottom 3. You kidding?
3, which is the only track in Mario Kart history where it is mandatory that you bunny hop to clear this broken bridge.
Which I do think is kind of cool.
Super isn't exactly my childhood Mario Kart or anything. That honor would go to Double Dash and DS, given Super came out several years before I was even conceived. But, you know, I did first play this at a young age, and I can tell you my experience as a child who played this. Well, it basically looked like this. I didn't know how to bunny hop. It's not a crucial mechanic in the original. It's not required at any other point. I thought the only way...
I feel like, because you kind of bunny hop into a drift in this game, so... To me, I figured out how to bunny... Like, even when I was, like, younger, I think I figured out how to bunny hop quite quickly. I don't think it was ever too big of an issue. You know? I guess it would be nice if they taught it to you in, like, a safer environment. But even, I feel like they kind of do that, you know? You've got, there's quite a few tracks where, like, you've got to, like... Not got to, but, like, it's handy to, like, jump over segments like Vanilla Lake 1, as he mentioned, you know, previously. Well, he mentioned that track previously, he didn't mention that specific point. There's bits of off-road where you can, like, hop over a bit. I think there's enough, like, points of the game where bunny hopping is a very useful thing that I feel like you would just kind of pick it up. And if you're not drifting, then what the fuck are you doing in this game, man? I don't know.
Jump was with the feather, to be honest, and also...
I don't think, I don't think that's a terrible complaint, because, again, they don't teach it to you. I just don't know if it, like, deserves, like, the track to be, like, bottom tier, you know?
Not required at any other point. I thought the only way to jump was with the feather, to be honest, and also, if the button wasn't on the face of the controller, it might as well not even existed. Honestly, there must have just been, like, one day where I tilted the controller and was just like, what the fuck are those?
I'm gonna be honest, man, I think that's just a you issue then.
All the skill issue, but this is a kid's game, and as someone who played this as a kid, I can tell you this game did not convey whatsoever what to do here. In fact,
I think you were a dumb kid.
It wasn't until I played this game again much later did I finally realize what you had to do. But for this alone, Donut Plains 3 has got to be my pick. I should mention that this track return...
That's the worst? Just because of that? I don't know if I agree with that, man.
In Mario Kart 8 and was remade pretty well. Bunny hopping is no longer required as the new version intentionally guides you into the water. The irony being that drifting is a much more refined and obvious mechanic in the newer games. I mean, in the more...
Yeah, but it's still a very helpful... It's still not like... It's not like the game just doesn't acknowledge it in Super, you know? I don't know. I on paper I get what he means, you know, obviously, like, it's annoying they don't teach you how the, you know, tracks work, I guess. I mean, how the controls work. I just think because of there's so little like buttons on like the SNES controller and how like little how little the controls are for this game anyways. It's basically like turn, drift, use item, accelerate. I'm pretty sure that's it. Maybe break. I don't remember if there's breaking in that game. That's really it, you know? I don't know.
Racing game, there's rarely a time where you aren't drifting, so they could probably get away from mandatory bunny hop in a new track if they really wanted to.
N64, it's gotta be Wario Stadium. There's nothing else that it can be apart from Wario Stadium.
I didn't grow up with a 64, so I have very little nostalgia.
My pick though, Wario Stadium.
For the console, and even less for Mario Kart 64 specifically. Even that being the case, I gotta say, I think this game gets a much worse reputation than it likely deserves. Believe me,
it's the worst in the series, come on, man.
When I say there are some haters for this game, I personally think it's fine. The track selection isn't great, but I also think there's a lot more than just one good track in the game, which is an opinion I've unironically heard from people over Discord. Part of me
First of all, people on Discord, people online, I think the track selection is fine. I think they just don't really work in this game's engine. I think stuff like Toad's Turnpike, I hate in N64, but it's like a really good track in like okay, which I know that's a controversial opinion, so I guess better example, Katamari Desert. I think it's way better in 8 than it is in N64. Same can be said about literally any like N64 track. I don't think there's an N64 track that's better in its original like carnation than it is in like its remake, which I don't think can be said about like every track. You know, there are definitely games that have it like better in the game because they just work better in that game. Most like the GBA and like SNES retros in like the earlier like days of retro tracks. You know, so I feel like N64 they kind of went a bit too like grand with like the track layouts for like that game's like engine and like how it like controlled personally.
I don't want to put Calamari Desert on here since it's a track that asks you to, in the middle of the race, come to a complete stop and then wait for this.
Calamari Desert is his pick. Does he not realize it's funny though?
Train the pass.
Well, what did he say? Actually, hang on.
Part of me kind of wants to put Calamari
part of me kind of wants to put okay, never mind.
on here since it's a track that asks you to, in the middle of the race, come to a complete stop and then wait for this train to pass. It's such an iconic and outlandish part of the track, though I almost kind of admire it. At the very least, I think Mario Kart 7 had the right idea by keeping the train, but adding jumps to the side you can take if you knew the train was coming. I know people hate 64's rendition of Rainbow Road since it's 10,000 miles long and is way out to finish. I sort of don't want to pick it for the same reason as Calamari Desert, however. The look in the overall...
I just want to check, is he really loud? He might be a little bit loud, hold on. I'll turn it down a little.
Vibe, especially if that great song is so iconic. Also, the chain chomps eating through the track are funny. As an aside, have you ever seen those dumbass Rainbow Road memes before about how you always fall off? I swear every fucking time they use a pic from the 64 version and it's like, bitch, you literally chose a picture of the only Rainbow Road you can't fall off. Not having much reverence for this entry, just in general, really. I started asking around what other people thought, and I had one friend mention Wario Stadium, which honestly never even crossed my mind as a contender, but the more I thought about it, yeah.
Really? Never crossed your mind? Until someone else that's really weird to me. So I feel like because he's talking about people online, and I feel like everyone like the consensus is Wario Stadium is the worst track possibly in the series. I don't know.
Wario Stadium kind of is a lame track, isn't it? Seriously, when it was brought up, I kind of wanted to reject the idea, but yeah, I think they're right. I mean, the whole reason I wanted to exclude circuit tracks is because oftentimes there's nothing that really makes them unique. Intentionally so, of course, but that's also why I think they're easy targets. As much hate as Mario Kart 64 might get, I'd still argue that every single track has at least one thing that makes it unique. Even if it's like small stuff like Monty Multi.
Yeah, there's always something, but are those things good, you know?
To avoid a Moo Farm, exploding snowmen in Frappe Snowland, I don't know, giant chocolate balls falling down in Choco Mountain. What does Wario Stadium have going for it? Its length? It's not even the longest track in 64, so it doesn't even have that. The music isn't unique. In fact, this song is using a quarter of the tracks. The layout itself isn't interesting. I mean, look at this minimap. The whole thing is comprised of straightaways and 90-degree turns in this uninteresting, uniform manner, almost as if this track
I think... And that, I kind of want to talk about this. This is a good like point to talk about. This isn't like necessarily a link to the video. I think I've seen a lot of people say that like I'm doing the people online thing now. I think it's like really strange when people say that like they're not really excited for Wario Stadium in Worlds because they like cut a lot of the track out. But that was the issue with the track originally. You know, I feel like people didn't like the track because there was so much of it, and so getting rid of it was the best thing to do. I don't know. I just don't know why people like were so negative about that.
Made in some primitive level editor. Except Bike 64. There's a ramp that jumps you over a previous segment, but let's be honest, DK Parkway did it better. Yeah. There's that one skip where you jump over the wall, but there's likewise much cooler skips in other 64 tracks.
I will say, I love N64 for its like shortcut opportunities. I hate N64. Worst game in the franchise. The shortcuts are sick though.
Sort of just goes on and on. And without the unique music or the abstract theming of something like Rainbow Road, I think the length on this one is much less excusable.
So I missed.
Super Circuit. Super Circuit's like up there as one of my favourite Mario Karts, if I'm being entirely honest. I just love the art style. I think it's just the art style that I love so much, and the creativity. What's my least favourite Super Circuit track? That's actually really rough. No circuits. What's my least favorite track? Oh, that is difficult. That's really difficult because like immediately I'm like Peach Circuit, Mario Circuit, Luigi. Is it Luigi Circuit in that game? I don't actually remember. car going by. I can't think of anything. Maybe like Cheap Cheap. Is it like Cheap Cheap Dock or like Cheap Cheap Beer? The one that's like got like a bit of like a sunset. I just don't think that one's like all that interesting, and it's like way too late in the game. How like easy it is. Maybe Bowser's Castle, like, what's it? Is it 2 or 3? I think it's 2. Yeah, 2's not really got much going on actually. I think I'll go Bowser's Castle 2 then. I think that's probably my least favorite. What does he think though? He could be boring Snowland hater. Yeah, that's all I can really think of.
I gotta be honest, this is probably the Mario Kart I am the least familiar with since I didn't play it until, I think, years even after Wii was out. As far as the tracks go, the ones I even remotely remember was Lakeside Park, which is a solid track with a super ballsy skip. Rainbow Road, which I unironically think is one of the best Rainbow Roads in the series.
Okay, no, he's cooking. Okay, hang on. This is the best video ever, come on.
Not even joking. And Cheeseland, because it's a track that's literally called Cheeseland. I remember Sky Garden as well, but that's mostly only because of its inclusion in DS. Otherwise, I don't really have any strong opinions on any of these. I think they're fine. Everyone seems to have a hate boner for Snowland though, and I feel obligated to include it for that screen shake alone. Like, what? Look at this. Like, why does the screen shake so much on this level? Like, who thought this was okay? And also, yeah, this track doesn't really have anything.
I always like see people hating on Snowland because of the screen shake. I don't hate it because it's the screen shake. I hate it because of like, it's an open track with nothing going on, with like very few obstacles. It's like quite late in the game, and they just do nothing with the ice physics. That's why I really don't like Snowlands.
Going for it, so it's got to be my pick. Starting with DS, I want to also talk.
Was that it? Hang on.
About the worst.
I thought he was like everyone has like a hate boner for it. This is why I like it. Hang on.
Everyone seems to have a hate boner for Snowland though, and I feel obligated to include it for that screen shake alone. Like, what? Look at this. Like, why does the screen shake so much on this level? Like, who thought this was okay? And also, yeah, this track doesn't really have anything else going for it, so it's got to be my pick. Starting with.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, so I was right then. Cool.
Yes, I want to also talk about the worst retro track in each game, which is why I'm here to say Super Circuit does not have retro tracks. It has every track from Super.
Okay.
Nintendo, yes. And I do think it's fair to say the idea of retro tracks started here, but to claim Super Circuit has what we now refer to as retro tracks, ever since DS anyway, is a false claim, and I want to take this.
Okay. I don't think many people are disagreeing.
Time to disprove it, especially since people saying Super Circuit was the very first game with retro tracks is very misleading, and yet it's still an actually I hear all the time. But
yeah, no, it was just bonus content. I genuinely don't think most people disagree.
You're already on my side or don't want to hear why they don't count, skip to about 950. Let's go down the list.
950? 950? You spent 3 minutes on this? Should I like skip on through?
Oftentimes they will have small changes, things added or removed. Even
not one small recreations yet. Okay.
They picked and chose certain maps and left
the rest. Okay. Dude, I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm like, at the most replayed section. I'm not surprised. Don't waste your viewers' time with this section. I know you like put the timestamp to be like, hey, skip to this bit, but like, don't put this in here. This is a pointless rant because I don't think anyone disagrees. I'm not gonna lie. Like, okay, extra tracks are handled differently. They're not one-to-one creations. The tracks are different. I mean, yeah, there's a good points, but like, I don't care, you know, because I agree. Everyone agrees.
Multiple titles. Every repeated cup is nothing but super tracks, and it's all
we know.
All 20. Every
we
last
know.
One. Was that enough of a case? Again, I think it's fair to say the idea for retro tracks started in Super Circuits.
Okay.
Retro tracks, at least how we know them today. To say
it originated from Super Circuit. That's fine. That's fine.
Blatantly just false.
That's fine.
I'm sick and tired of it, so stop. No more.
Okay.
Bad. No.
You do realize the track you complain about in Super Mario Kart is a single track they actually changed, right?
Wait, what?
That's like a funny thing to mention, but apart from that, what? Okay, realistically, what was the point of this apart from just like, fucking, let me destroy the people online who disagree with me? I don't know. Pointless 3 minutes, man. I'm not gonna lie. Funny.
You know, I was talking to someone about Double Dash recently.
Okay, Double Dash. What's my least favorite Double Dash track? That is actually really difficult because I love Double Dash. I do really like Double Dash. Is it just like... I'm a Dry Desert fan. I actually quite like Dry Desert. I think it's just Dry Desert because all the other tracks in this game are good. I can't maybe. Do I like Peach Beach that much? Not really. I'm not huge on Peach Beach. I'll go with that because I do actually quite like Dry Desert. What does he pick though? I think he goes Dry Desert, and I go Peach Beach. Okay.
Their unironic pick for the worst track in this game was Dino Jungle.
Hey, go on a 3-minute rant about that. I would hear you destroy your friend or whatever. Go on a 3-minute rant about that. Skip the Super Circuit Retro rant.
It's okay, they're not alive anymore. Was it not for my self-inflicted restriction of no circuit tracks? I would just say the worst track on here is Mario Circuit and call it a day, considering there's nothing unique to that course. Not even the chain chomp since that was in the opening track of the game. I'm sure people would think Baby Park would be the next runner-up.
Oh yeah, he has Baby Park in the thumbnail. Oh, is it gonna be like his like DS retro pick is gonna be like okay?
This now because Baby Park may or may not appear later, so I want to cover it in this game. So a kart racer is more than just its tracks, right? It's also its mechanics, its engine, you know, how the game feels to control. Just because you have a good track design on paper doesn't mean it will automatically be fun to race on. You also have to take into consideration the game you are designing the track for. Yeah. It's why people will lose their mind talking about how terrible every track in X game is, but then when it's brought back in another game with slight tweaks, they go, yeah, you know, this track is actually pretty sweet. And it's why, even for this list, Baby Park included, the same exact track can be great in one game but suck in the next. And it has less to do with the track and more to do with the game itself. Baby Park is a track where
I just think, because, okay, it's obviously going to come up at another point, probably DS. I don't know why you don't just save that for DS, though. Like, I'm agreeing with a lot of your points. I think this is, like, a good, like, analysis. I just don't know why you wouldn't save it for DS, you know? Keep the viewer, like, you know, like, intrigued, you know? I don't know. Odd. Strange.
Items, their usage and variety takes precedence over the layout itself. It's also why Baby Park is a track that is perfectly complemented by Double Dash's mechanics, and Double Dash specifically, mind you. Double Dash is a game where items are everywhere. They're given out at a much higher frequency in comparison to past games, and with a much greater variety than most other Mario Karts, period. When I, or anyone else for that matter, thinks of Baby Park on GameCube, they think of items flying everywhere. The fireballs, giant bananas, bombs, chain chomps, that giant Bowser shell that could go through the center, which is an important distinction that is completely irrelevant to the games that brought this track back.
You know, like I don't disagree, but I don't know why you're talking about this now. I don't know why you didn't save this for just when you're going to talk about it later, you know?
Mario Kart DS R8, your side is basically the only side you need to worry about, but here on Double Dash, because items like the Bowser shell can pass through the center, you need to be fully aware of all your surroundings, which makes for a playthrough with a lot more going on at any given time. And most importantly, this. Here's what an item knockout looks like in Double Dash. And here's what it's looked like in every game since. Items can just completely kill your speed in the modern entries. I'm not here to argue whether this change is good or bad, but when a track like Baby Park is putting items center stage, it can just feel bad, honestly. If in, say, Mario Kart 8, you had just as many crazy items and they could pass through the center like they could in Double Dash, it would be terrible, because that game isn't designed to be as chaotic, which is—
And that's why they changed it by having the walls up. So you're kind of like, because like the thing is, right, you're complaining that like this wouldn't be as good if this isn't as good in this game because of like this mechanic, but then there's the fix for it that you literally mentioned, basically, right? That's odd. That's odd. Strange.
It's fine. I love Mario Kart 8, but all of that is a distinction to be made. The chaos.
I don't, to be fair, like here you're trying to get hit. Man.
It would be terrible.
Like great editing. You're making your point very, very clear with the editing. You are over exaggerating a little bit.
Because that game isn't designed to be as chaotic, which is fine. I love Mario Kart 8, but all of that is a distinction to be made. The chaos and how unobtrusive items were in Double Dash is why Baby Park was such an iconic track when the game first dropped, and why it hasn't been nearly as good ever since. It is also—
I still think it's better in 8 than it's been in Double Dash, but I can see what you're saying. Once again, say this when you talk about Baby Park properly.
For the worst track in Double Dash is not Baby Park, it's Waluigi Stadium. Hot damn controversial.
What the? Oh, okay. Now I'm like sitting up. I'm like genuinely sitting up. You are boring me with the fucking Baby Park when you're not even meant to be talking about it yet. What? Okay, hold
This
on.
track in Double Dash is not Baby Park.
Speak to me,
It's
come on.
Waluigi Stadium. Hot damn controversial pick, I know. But much like how I think Baby Park was only done worse in subsequent games, I think Waluigi Stadium was done better. Almost immediately better too, since the very next console release, Wii, featured it as a retro track, and it's all right there. I generally prefer Double Dash's game feel to Wii's, but the addition of the trick system in Wii was absolutely genius.
yeah,
I think it
okay.
completely validates the numerous.
To be fair, yeah. I still don't think calling it the worst track in the game is gonna. Better say.
Jumps in Waluigi Stadium. In previous games, such as Double Dash, the whoops in tracks like this, and yes, these are actually called whoops. Yeah, I used to motocross when I was younger, what of it? But all they really did was bounce you in the air, slowing you down, and making you lose temporary control of your vehicle. The trick system alone, I think, makes
Which I think that was kind of the point, to like make you lose a bit of control, you know? Kind of made that bit of the track a little bit more like challenging to like traverse.
And this track, as a result, a lot more engaging.
And more importantly, to like avoid like obstacles. So I feel like having a track that kind of like has that as like one of the main gimmicks is actually really interesting. I much prefer like the trick system, but I feel like saying Waluigi like Stadium's the worst when it brings something unique to the game is actually a bit strange. I don't know, I don't really agree.
In Mario Kart Tour and 8, I think they knocked it out of the park with these half pipes and the alternate routes that half pipes lead to.
I do think the alternate routes are like very interesting, but to me this just kind of comes off as it's better in this game, therefore it's bad in this game, which I personally is a philosophy I don't like agree with. I can understand what, like where that comes from though. Obviously, like if I could play a better version of the track, it makes the other version obsolete in essence. But I think this is a scenario where you can't really apply that because the obstacles in this track are so unique to anything else in Double Dash, to the point it serves a purpose in that game that no other track fulfills. That's just my personal take on it though.
Phenomenal track in 8 specifically. Otherwise, many of my critiques I directed at 64's Wario Stadium, like every corner being made up of 90-degree turns, is also applicable to Waluigi Stadium. Waluigi Stadium is a much more interesting track by comparison, I'd argue, but hey, I had to do something, so I'm choosing this.
Yeah, fair enough, I suppose.
Mario Kart DS, the game with 7 circuit tracks.
What were they thinking?
Crazy.
So there we have a good chunk of tracks already getting off scot-free because of my self-inflicted rule. I mean, I never even dare consider putting a track like Yoshi Circuit on a list like this, but the lack of shit Figure 8 Circuit gets is criminal and needs to be amended.
Okay, no, he's not way back. Fuck Waluigi Circuit, Waluigi Stadium. I agree. Figure 8 Circuit bad.
Someday. In my head, I thought DS had a pretty weak track selection, but at least looking at the new stuff, I think most of these are alright. Shout out to DS's Wario Stadium for being the best stadium map we had seen up to this point. Yoshi.
Shout out to DS Wario. What the fuck? Shout out to DS Wario Stadium. No. You can't do that. You can't just like fucking like compliment fucking Wario Stadium. Also, I didn't predict this one. It's gonna be Yoshi Falls, and I agree. Actually, no, well, no, Figure 8 Circuit can't be counted. So yeah, it's gonna be Yoshi Falls. You know.
Shout out to DS's Wario Stadium for being the best stadium map we had seen up to this point. Yoshi Falls is the track I ended up picking for this list. Yeah. I did try to cut the Mushroom Cup track some slack because, you know, they're the first ones you see, so the design has to stay relatively simple. But I mean, what do I even say about Yoshi Falls?
It's
Ironically,
just really
if you were to
bad.
find someone who likes this track, I think they likewise wouldn't even be able to tell you what they liked about it outside maybe the presentation. I think the most interesting thing Yoshi Falls does is have some items being carried down by water.
I think it's a little tad bit overhated because I do think the waterfall gimmick is like quite interesting, but it's still not a good track.
It's like saying Wisconsin is a fun place to be because it has Aldo, Leopold, Shack, and Farm. What? There it is! The pride and joy of their states. Okay, what the fuck is this? So I just like, this was unironically a result when I googled Wisconsin.
This is like, okay, this is something that's kind of annoying me about this video. I feel like, this is just this like James style power to him, but like I am not liking how he's like spending so much. Like he makes a joke, and then he's kind of like, oh, and let me explain it a little bit. Like, the joke should just be you say like a random landmark from like Wisconsin, and then you end it. You know, give it a little bit more fast pace. You know.
So I just like, this was unironically a result when I googled Wisconsin landmarks. You think I'm the first person to say Aldo, Leopold, Shack, and Farm this week? Mario Kart DS was also the first game of retro tracks. Yeah, that's right, screw you, Super Circuit.
Okay, we get it, man.
Talked about my
I mean,
it's Baby
Park,
Park.
yeah.
I already explained why it's here in the last segment. DS might be the worst
I still just don't know why you didn't explain it here.
track has ever been, actually. Items are pretty tame in DS by comparison, and even on 150cc, that frantic energy seen in Double Dash is just entirely gone. Based on the
That's
other
really
tracks
bad.
they decided to bring back for the retro stuff, I'm almost positive they just picked this because it was hands down the easiest track to recreate.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Mario Kart Wii.
Mario Kart Wii. What's his least favorite? What is his least favorite actually? No, maybe Moonview Highway. It could be Moonview Highway to be fair. It's either that or no. I think it's just I think it's just Moonview Highway to be honest. And or maybe he's one of those that like really likes the challenge of it, which I personally disagree with. I think Moonview Highway without the circuits is probably the worst in the game. Actually, do I? I'm trying to think of like other tracks in Wii. You got that one. Yeah, no, probably. I don't think Moonview Highway is bad. I actually still quite like it. I think it's just that like it's in Wii, and Wii's just got a good track selection. Yeah, I think it just picks Moonview Highway, and I kind of agree to be fair.
The best-selling installment until 8 Deluxe came out and just, like, manifested itself inside of every household. What, you're the one person who thinks they don't have a copy of Mario Kart 8? Check between your couch cushions, I'm sure you'll find it. As for Wii, it's fine. Those familiar with my older videos will recall that while Wii isn't my favorite or anything, I still think it has one of the most solid selection of tracks in the entire series.
Yeah, undeniably. I'm not a big Wii guy. I've always just thought Wii looks really ugly. I don't know why. That might just be like a me thing, but I don't like how this game looks. But yeah, I think it's definitely got the most like consistently good track selection. I don't know if it's got the best overall. I think it's got the most consistently good one though.
Series across both modern and retro.
Actually, wait, does he like Wii Bowser Castle? I don't, bold take. I'm gonna say he doesn't like Wii Bowser
I
Castle.
put Moo Moo Meadows on here was it not for the fact that I have a friend that I think would literally kill me if I did. I have ranked the
Meadows
Wii
is sick,
tracks
what
in
the
the
fuck?
past, and I placed Grumble Volcano pretty dang low originally. Looking back, while I'm not a huge fan of this one, I do think I did it a little dirty. It's not nearly as
No, you
rough
didn't.
as I
Grumble just above Moonview Highway, to be honest.
made it out to be. I can never get a concrete opinion of what the Mario Kart community thinks of the traffic maps in these games.
Is it
Opinions
Moonview?
seem to be pretty mixed, but honestly, I've never been a fan of Moonview Highway in particular, so that's gotta be my pick. For a
Okay, I was right. I actually changed it to Bowser Castle, but ignore that. I was right. He's really just gonna say cards are a bit too like it's a bit too hard to react to them. It's really it, to be honest.
the last cup of the game, its layout is pretty rudimentary. When you think
Yeah.
of the final track layouts in any other Mario Kart games, you're typically looking at something like this, or this, but then you look at Moonview Highway and it's like, I mean, there are Mushroom Cup tracks and more interesting layouts than this.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really agree with that like criticism of it because I kind of, at least to me, I feel like the fact that it has the cars to make up for that, and like especially like the bomb cars, I think that makes up for the more like easygoing like track layout. And if I'm not mistaken, or does it go dry? It might go Drive into their Moonview Highway. I can't actually remember, but it's still early, like Special Cup, so I don't think it's awful considering its difficulty. It may be a bit too easy, but I think the actual like cars make up for it.
Speaking of which, that's another issue I have with this one. The difficulty spread is not consistent at all. The track starts out pretty tricky actually, as it should. A narrow 2-lane road and some decently tight turns. Then you get into the city and it's just like, drive straight, make a soft turn, and avoid very easy to dodge traffic now that the track has been opened up twofold. The only other tricky part is the tunnel, which is tricky for the wrong reasons. Depending on what angle you take this, it's actually a bit of a blind turn when it comes to oncoming traffic. I mean, this isn't Double Dash where you can, pull one of these and really quickly maneuver around obstacles. In Wii, the steering is much more deliberate and gradual, so when traffic is flying at you this fast, it's like good.
Not much to say really. It's just yeah. To be fair,
What idiot. Yoshi Falls returns as a retro track, but I'm not about to put this on the list twice, so instead let's talk about Shy Guy Beach, which might honestly be the weakest beach map in the series next to Super's Koopa Beach 2. Okay, seriously, what is up with this dead end?
It's not a dead end because you're not meant to go that way.
As turns you actually need to take, Shy Guy Beach is literally just a square. Don't let this shaky minimap that looks like it was doodled by an elderly man of Tremors fool you. You're just driving straight here. My favorite Mario Kart tracks are the ones where you can basically drift the whole time start to finish. I mean, drifting in of itself is basically half the meta of the series.
Oh, yeah.
Shy Guy Beach is a track where you can't really do that though. Also, the cannonballs and the crabs are really annoying.
Annoying. I think they're quite cool. I would say in GBA maybe because I think it's like. To be fair, I think that the obstacles are actually quite challenging on GBA considering it's like so early in the game. Like it's usually like second track in the game. In Wii though, where it's like a wet retro track. I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's a bit of like a skill issue. I'm not gonna lie. Mario Kart set. Also, we are not very far into the video. What is the rest of these? I don't want to like hover over them because I don't want to like spoil myself. If he goes on more rants, I might actually just like click off. This rant is like longer than like any other section apart from like I think this one, which even then he's talking about a track that he's not meant to be talking about. I don't know. The pacing in this video is a bit. Ugh.
Mario Kart 7 is Mario Kart 7. Yeah, honestly, I don't really know what to say about this one. By the time I played this one,
what's my least favorite? Probably just the fucking cheap one, and he's gonna put the cheap one as well because everyone doesn't like that one. Actually, no, he's a lot more lenient to the Mushroom Cup tracks. I doubt he cares about Donkey Kong Country Returns, so it's not gonna be DK Jungle. I'm trying to think. What else could it be? I actually really don't know. Oh, probably Bowser Castle. I think he's one of those that like really hates Bowser Castle, which I personally disagree with. I think it's just fine.
Kart 8 was already out. I've reviewed it since and really enjoyed what I played, honestly. I would describe the gameplay as a lesser 8, but in regards to the topic of this video, the actual track selection is just as solid, if not really more good, so than Wii's, which is saying a lot.
I personally think 7 has the best track selection. It's got great retros. It's got great nitros. I think 8 has like more like quantity, and some of that quantity is really good. I still think that 7 has like the better like track selection.
There's some good shit here. Looking into what others thought, and maybe it's just because I'm that weird guy that generally likes the ice-themed stages, but I was actually shocked to see how many Rosalina's Ice World haters there are. To be fair, I don't really care about it in the Booster Course DLC. Terrible camera angles, pointless half-pipes, pathing that doesn't look like it's going to slow you down, but it does, and most tragically, the deep moody colors were also removed. A bad interpretation, but I think it's fine enough in its original iteration.
In its original iteration, I think it definitely looks better graphically. Which you could just say is BCP magic, but, you know. I think, though, that, like, the issue is, it's, like, if I'm not mistaken, it's a Special Cup track, and it's just really boring. It's got that turn at the beginning. I think the idea of, like, the ice bit melting in the middle, making you, like, have to, if you don't get the speed, take, like, a longer path, and making that, like, you know, like, having that, like, that kind of, like, challenge as, like, the track progresses. That's kind of cool, but apart from that, like, the track is absolutely nothing of interest.
I feel pretty bad because I typically love the beach maps, and I feel like I've been throwing a lot of shade at them in this video. But of 7's new tracks, Cheap Lagoon has
so it is just Cheap Lagoon. Boring but correct, you know.
To be the weakest, which, to be fair, is more of a water map than a beach map, which in some parts I suppose would explain how underwhelming it is. Between 7's new glider and the underwater racing, I think the versatility the glider provides is much more interesting, and Cheap Lagoon is a perfect example as to why. When you're underwater, things are just slower and sloppier, and I feel dirty saying that. Ironically, the most interesting thing in this map is the glider segment where you avoid the water. Speaking of the glider segment being the most interesting
I think that's just the thing, right? The issue with Cheap Lagoon, it's not. I think as a track, it's just fine. It just doesn't do a good job introducing the water to you. It doesn't do a good job making the water seem intriguing, and so the track just itself kind of just ends up like failing because of that.
The track. Bowser's Castle 1 is the retro pick for 7. I generally love the Bowser's Castle maps, but half Bowser's Castle 1 is the retro pick for 7. I generally
this is GBA, right? Fair, I guess.
The Bowser's Castle maps, but half of this track is just driving straight. I like the portions of all the thwomps, and it's not even a terrible track, truth be told, but it's definitely the weakest Bowser's Castle.
I forgot. He like went into it too quickly. I couldn't really predict. I probably just agree, to be honest. Yeah.
GBA and the weakest retro track in 7 when ignoring the circuit stuff.
Luigi Kart 8!
What the fuck, Luigi? This isn't even your game. Mario Kart 8.
Get the fuck out of here,
And
man.
statistically speaking, your favorite Mario Kart. Between 8 and Deluxe, we have 96 different tracks to come through.
Look, I know technically some of the tracks aren't as high quality. Having 96 tracks, with some of them being like kind of poor quality, I'm gonna be honest, is better than like having like 36 like solid tracks, you know what I mean? Is he just boring and goes Bone Dry Dunes? Maybe. I'm assuming by how much I've got here. So Mario Kart 8. There's so much. I'm assuming he's doing like BCP as well, like separately. maybe also the DLC of like the original base game. So, what does he do then? I think I might just go Bone Dry Dunes. I can't really think what else he would really do. Maybe Water Park. Maybe he's one of those that's like, oh, I have missed potential, but it's not that big of a deal. Again, he's like, I'm saying it again. He's trying to avoid like Mushroom Cup tracks and trying to be more lenient, but he's just not really done that. He's had like 2 Mushroom Cup tracks already. So it's Water Park and he doesn't seem to like the water gimmick. So I think I'll go Water Park then. My pick's personally just Bone Dry Dunes. I know. I think it looks interesting, but as a track, it's just
these into new, retro, Wii U DLC, and deluxe DLC. I may love Mario Kart 8, but coming off 7, I don't think the selection of new tracks is nearly as strong. Besides Swamp Ruins, I don't really care for—
Me personally, I think that I think the Nitros are better than 7s. Me personally.
For anything a Mushroom Cup. Twisted Mansion is 50% underwater and also has this turn right here where you get snagged on this damn guardrail. Fuck you. Star Cup. Okay, Star Cup is actually really solid. Then Bone Dry Dunes. Might be weird to say, but the thing that ruins this track for me are the bumps on the turns. Wavy turns seriously might be one of my least favorite things in all of Mario Kart. Losing control while trying to fine-tune a drift is exceedingly obnoxious.
Why are you showing Ruby Road footage? That's what makes that track so cool. That's like my favorite track in 8. What the fuck?
Obnoxious, but not boring, which is what Water Park is.
Hey, I'm correct.
Holy shit, what a wasted opportunity. I mean,
he's one of these. He is one of these. Wasted opportunities. It's a Mushroom Cup track. Calm down, man.
Water Park that actually goes underwater. That sounds amazing. So how did they fuck it up so bad? I swear half of this track is literally just this one turn so soft you take it half asleep. A track themed around driving in an amusement park is such an awesome idea that I seriously hope they take another stab at someday. Really looking at what we got here, I think I actually like the retro selection 8 more than I like the Nitro stuff. Really? A first in the series, at least for me.
Was he already moved on from Water Park? It's very clear when he like cares about like talking about a track, and he like actually cares what the game he's talking about. Then like compared to when he's like, because that was not analysis. That was really shit. It was like, oh, this turn is bad and the theming is a bit boring, and that was really it. Come on, man, say a little bit more. Me personally, Water Park. I think Water Park's quite solid. Not like great or anything, but I think it's pretty good. I think it's a much better introduction to underwater driving than Cheap Cheap Lagoon was. I think it has like it does a little bit more with like the floatier physics. Of course, not like the most, but it does a little bit. It kind of. I think it also introduced like the anti-gravity boosters, which I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, I don't think are present in Mario Kart Stadium. So Water Park is like the introduction to that, which I think is really cool because how it works is like you've got like the anti-gravity thing on what looks like an obstacle, so you're trying to avoid it, but because you're new to the game, you're probably gonna hit it, and so then you like naturally find out, oh, okay, I meant to go for these to get a speed boost, which I think is really cool. Of course, yes, I think that the track is a little bit boring. It's the second track of the game, calm down. And I mean, like, I quite like the like not Ferris wheel. Well, actually, I like the Ferris wheel, like gliding over to it. But I like the like merry-go-round type thing. First of all, the music, like being like Big Boo's like from like Big Boo's Haunt. I think it's actually like really fun. But also like going on 200cc and because of like the floaty water being able to like hop over that entire off-road. And timing it with like the like carousels going around, I think is really cool. I like Water Park quite a bit. I also just think it looks really nice aesthetically. I really like Water Park. I don't think it gets enough credit.
Amazing! How did they fuck it up so bad? I swear half of this track is literally just this one turn so soft you take it half asleep. A track themed around driving in an amusement park is such an awesome...
He's moving on to retro, isn't he? My least favorite retro track. Ooh. Probably Grumble. I think Grumble's even worse than it is in Wii in this game. What does he pick though? I mean, he already doesn't like Grumble. So there is potential for Grumble being there. He could just go for like Moo Moo Meadows or something boring though. I'll be a bit broad. I'll go like Grumble or like something really boring. I'll go just something really boring.
Some idea that I seriously hope they take another stab at someday. Really looking at what we got here, I think I actually like the retro selection 8 more than I like the Nitro stuff. First in the series.
Oh wait, he probably goes Toast Time, like actually.
For me, I mean, Moo Moo Meadows went from being Moo Moo Meadows to being one of my favorite tracks in 8. Gliding off this new cliff and then barely hitting this ramp so you could get the boost while still holding onto your glider is so satisfying. Every track that I was not a fan of for its original counterpart got some really solid
Hey,
updates.
Sherberland Glaze, come on,
Desert,
please.
Sort of just a basic desert track. They added an oasis, making for an actually decent water segment in a track.
Hey,
Sherberland,
I
same
like
deal.
Treasure
It was
Desert
kind of
as
just a
well,
basic
come
ice
on.
map. Well, now the holes in the ice rink that used to lead to your death now lead to alternate paths. Also,
Yeah.
it's absolutely gorgeous now. Of the 16 here, I guess I'd say Toad's Turnpike
Yeah,
is first, but
yeah, you dickhead.
even that track got some cool updates, like letting you glide above the overpass or drive
Which has always been so cool to me, and no one fucking mentions it.
on the walls of the highway, although I don't think it was quite enough. This is a traffic map where the road is way too wide and the vehicles are way too easy to dodge, especially compared
I
to
don't know. I feel like it's Shell Cup having the track a bit wider and while having the traffic is still good. Personally, I think the track looks great. Maybe not as good as it did in N64, but it still looks really good. Again, I just like the gliding over thing. I genuinely think this is like a really good track, and I'm annoyed how much people don't like it.
the original. So not too long after the launch of Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, they dropped a total of 16 tracks in a
Which to be fair, it seems like he likes it as well. It's just kind of like I have to pick something, and like the retro selection is really solid, which is fair.
$12 expansion that included some other extra content like characters and vehicle parts. Also, 200cc, which has since become my favorite way to play, and if it was up to me, would be a mandatory inclusion in every future release.
Don't Flash Mario Kart World.
There are some gorgeous
Okay,
stuff in the DLC. I mean, you can really tell that they cared, but effort doesn't always equate to greatness. They did a great job making
So, okay, DLC Nitro, Ice Outpost. I guess I'll just cover DLC now. So, for DLC, he's really shit towards Baby Park, but he didn't do Yoshi Falls again. When he's like, I guess also not. I don't think he's gonna do Baby Park again. I think even though he might dislike him more, he's gonna like not do it again. Ooh, okay. Maybe I don't know. The retros are pretty solid in this. Maybe SNES Rainbow Road. He did show that he didn't really like Ribbon Road. Actually, no. Please don't be Ribbon Road. Please don't be Ribbon Road. Me personally, I think my. Oh no, Nitro's got a what's it? Dragon Driftway. No, he's still gonna like Ice Outpost less. I think Dragon Driftway is worse than Ice Outpost, and then Nitro, probably. Retro, sorry. Warriors Goldmine. I've never been a huge fan of Warriors Goldmine.
Baby Park look really polished, sure, but it's still a lesser version mechanically than it was on GameCube.
I think for me, what makes this track better? First of all, you got like 12 players, which just instantly like increases like the amount of fun you've got on it. But also, you've got the anti-gravity stuff on this now. So the entire track's anti-gravity. So when you bump into places, you get that extra speed boost, which makes it more chaotic, especially if you get it on like a turn that like sends you like tumbling into a wall, you know? The music makes the game like it's so much more frantic because they like speeds up. I don't remember if they do that in the other versions, but it speeds up, and then like on the final track, like the lights like flash like around like the railings, which I think is so cool. He mentions it. The visuals are just fantastic on this track. I mean, fucking look at the backgrounds. Oh my god! And I just think having like 12 races that are like all throwing items, all with like 2 items, it's just like so interesting. You know, it just makes the track so much better. I don't know. I personally think it's better than Double Dash. I think it's like you get like a trade-off, right? You put up the railings and you don't have to like think about what the races on the other side are doing, but you put up the railings and so the items are more like enclosed and they're more likely to like hit you when they're on like your side. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I quite like this version a lot more than GCN.
Pretty indefensible, to be honest. You know what track I despise though? Excite Bike Arena.
What? Okay. Oh. I'm standing. I'm intrigued. Okay, come on.
Okay. Here's the deal. I genuinely do not want to come off as mean here, even though I likely will to some, because I'm not here to make people feel bad for liking something, but at the same time, it blows my mind how many hardcore fans this one has. I also think it's bizarre that, seemingly, Excite Bike Arena's biggest fans hate Baby Park. They look at this minimap and go,
Who? Hey, ask me. Show me the is the fucking are the biggest Excite Bike fans in the room right now? Like, where the fuck are they? Can you show me them? Because I love Excite Bike Arena. I love Baby Park as well. Come on, man.
Go, oh, sick, gross! Then they look at the Excite Bike minimap and go, alright, now there's a layout. It is literally just another take on the Baby Park layouts, except you waggle your controller like a doofus the whole time,
Yeah,
since it's
fun.
nothing but a straight row of jumps.
It's fun.
Yes, you can also press R to trick, but if
You
want
said
to
it,
make
you
sure
like the trick features. The tricks are just satisfying in this game. Both with like the animation, like the sound effects, it's just fun, you know, to like trick off of like things and just get like that speed from it, you know?
you maximize the amount of tricks you're executing here, get ready for a whole lot of this. To be fair, the
I have never played this game and like fucking like using my like controllers to like trick. I always just press the button because that's way better.
music, phenomenal. It's a pretty
Yes.
rad remix of the Excite Bike theme. The
Yes.
jump patterns picking from a random assortment every time you race. Also very cool.
Yes, it's sick, you know? Just like keeping it like somewhat fresh, because I can agree, yeah. Eventually, you know, tricking off like the same routes is gonna be boring. But you don't trick off the same routes every time. You know, it changes, and I love that, you know? And it's also just a really faithful remake, you know? I think remaking like Excite Bike Arena like this, it's just like really like a really cool way to use the trick function to like create something like to create like a really nice callback in this game, you know?
This track just looks great with the angular jumps. They
Also, oh no, this is a nitro, isn't it? This is a nitro.
really
I
capture
don't know why I was thinking of it as like a retro.
the look of the original game, but that doesn't change the fact that what is on the screen right now, this is the track. I love junk food too, but
You're kind of doing the same thing as what you were criticizing, like, Excite Bike fans for, because I mean, I'm assuming he's going to explain it, but like, to me, it's kind of like you're doing what you were joking about, except like the reverse.
why is this junk food held in such high regard? I sure do love driving straight and going.
It's fun.
The
It's just
one
funny.
thing that made Baby Park an even remotely interesting track, the item meta,
Yeah.
is basically non-existent here. Items like green
Yeah, because this track doesn't focus on items; it focuses on tricking.
shells, fireballs, boomerangs, hell, even the bananas to an extent, are compromised significantly.
And I still wouldn't say that the item interactions are bad in this track. I think there's enough, like... I think the thing is, if this was, like, any other game's, like, item roster, I could agree. But this game has, like, you know, like, so many speed items. It's got, like, the squid that, like, affects people. It's got, like, the red shell, the triple red shells. You know, there's so many things that could be used to, like, still attack people. I still think the Firefly is pretty effective on this track, you know? Yeah, because the green shells, maybe not so much. But even, like, bananas are still good on this track, you know? I would not say that, like, the items are too heavily hurt by this.
When these things are bound to the ground, and the people that you need to hit are in the air for half the race. In a map like Baby Park, you can feasibly bounce a green shell off a wall and hit a player. In Excite Bike, that just isn't going to happen, because not only will it likely move under your targets, but the walls of these jumps basically just trap floor-bound items in these grass pockets on the side.
I guess, but also, like, there's that section at the end that has, like, a bit of a straightaway. You know, there's, like, a couple, like, little, like, straight sections that, like, allow you to, like, get, like, hits on players with, like, shells like that, which means that, like, that item interaction isn't completely gone, you know?
That alongside the faster speed makes this a track where the item roulette feels very lopsided. Items that were already good, like red shells or lightning, become some of the only items you feel you can really use, and items that already
Which I don't think is the biggest issue.
weren't great, such as the aforementioned fireballs or boomerang, are made even worse.
Okay, first of all, firepower is not usually good. Crazy take. I always get hit by them. But also, like, I just disagree, you know, because I think there's enough segments of the track where you're not always going to be in the air to where you can, like, feasibly hit people. But also, I just think even then, like, stuff like the Firefly and Boomerang can still be useful. Again, they're technically made, like, worse, yeah, but, like, not by as much as you're, like, making out to be.
The disparity between a green shell and a red shell never felt bigger. In Baby Park, where the items are being emphasized, that track will inevitably only be as good as the item meta is.
Yeah, no, because, like, here's the thing, right? My issue with this, right, is you're comparing Baby Park and Excite Bike as if they're doing the same thing, when they're not. Baby Park is going for a completely different thing than Excite Bike. Baby Park is meant to be about the chaos of Mario Kart, which it encapsulates beautifully. What Excite Bike is, it's the satisfying nature of getting those, like, constant tricks off of ramps that no other track can really have because of, like, how sparingly tricks are used. And it does that phenomenally, you know? They both do what they're trying to do, like, really well. If you don't think that what Excite Bike is going for is as interesting to you, fair. But your complaints are more like, you're trying to make the track something that it's not, you know?
For said game. Again, it's why it's a blast to play in Double Dash and mediocre everywhere else. Likewise in Excite Bike Arena, where jumps and tricks are being emphasized. This track will only ever be as good as the trick system in said game, or
Which, again, I think is quite solid in Mario Kart 8.
or, you know, this game. I mean, the item meta on this one is de-emphasized. The drifting is nearly non-existent since, you know, you're just driving in a straight line. It's not like snaking is a thing anymore.
On that DS, you can only snake this out of park combinations in 8. Even then, it's extremely restrictive and not that viable on a track like a side bike. Yeah, snaking wasn't that good anyways. I did not care for snaking.
So Excite Bike Arena is basically placing all of its chips in on the trick system. That being said,
Which I think
the
is
trick
quite
system in
fun.
Mario Kart is very shallow, which is usually fine. It's
Yeah, no, it's not like... Because it's not like the game is meant to be, like, insanely technical. It is literally just dumb fun. That is entirely what Excite Bike Arena is going for, and it succeeds at that phenomenally. It is just dumb fun, you know?
intuitive and easy to implement, which is why it's such a great minor addition to so
Like,
many
if people were saying, like, ooh, Excite Bike Arena is this really deep track with, like, a lot of lore or something, I can understand where you're coming from, but no one ever says that, you know? No one ever says, like, Excite Bike Arena is this, like, really, like, fundamentally, like, interesting track. It is literally just dumb fun, and that's where the fun comes from.
tracks. Just a little something extra to add a bit more engagement and round out a course. But the reality is that the time window is incredibly generous, especially when you waggle the controller and the tricks
And I mean, isn't this like kind of
the
like
reality is that
this type of bit in like a track is to me always like one of the best bits, you know? I love having like these constant tricking sections, and so Excite Bike just does more of that.
time window is incredibly generous,
That's fun.
especially when you waggle the controller, and the tricks themselves feel very scripted. It's mechanically very basic, which again is fine. It's just one part of the game. Stuff like items, or especially drifting, are much more important, and it's why they're often emphasized over the trick system, which again is otherwise normally treated like an extra little flourish. The
Of
bottom
course.
line though is that the trick system is not in-depth enough to be solely relied on for an entire track's engagement, which is what Excite Bike Arena attempts to do. Okay,
I just sorry, let me
the bottom line though is that the trick system is not in-depth enough to be solely relied on for an entire track.
But like the thing is, it's not that it's trying to be like in depth. It's just trying to it's just trying to be fun. It's just trying to be stupid fun, and that's the entire like thing, you know. I was going to use like Crash Team Racing as an example, which like the trick system, like being in the air and whatnot, is a little bit more important. But again, that's just not what this track is going for in the slightest. It is literally just meant to be, hey, get as many tricks as you can and have fun doing that. That's it.
Engagement, which is what Excite Bike Arena attempts to do. Okay, this isn't Crash Team Racing, where the longer you are in the air, the bigger a boost you get, which, you know, makes the timing and more importantly the mechanic itself feel much more organic and strategic. Being airborne is also how you can maintain reserves for Sacred Fire in that game, but that's neither here nor there. The point is a track like Excite Bike Arena might actually be pretty solid in CTR's engine, but this isn't CTR, it's Mario Kart. You waggle your remotes and get a fixed amount of boost when you land, which is why
I just don't know why of all the tracks, apart from like Baby Park, this is the one you spend like a solid like, how long have we gone before? Like so about like 5 minutes on this track alone. I think that's a really well because the criticisms, yes, they're technically right, but that's just not why people like the track. People don't like the track because it's all like technical. People don't like the track because it's all like, you know, item interactions and whatnot. People like the track because it's just dumb tricking fun. It could have been so much easier if you were just like, I don't really find like tricking to be all that fun in this game. That's it. You don't need to go on this like rant and try to justify your point when your point is, like the points you're making don't really like, I don't want to say count, but they don't really make sense for this track necessarily.
I don't even have to press a single button and can just go. The track's most interesting facet, the fact that the types of jumps are different every time you race, doesn't change the playing experience in a significant enough way to make this map interesting. In fact, in time trials,
I guess it technically doesn't really change the gameplay, but I still think it's just a cool thing that keeps the track fresh every single time you play it, you know?
pattern of jumps remains consistent for obvious reasons, and how you approach the map there doesn't change at all. And why would it? No amount of randomization will ever take away from the fact that this is an oval with a bunch of bumps in a line.
And
you
it's
could
fun.
honestly pick the same seed for the jump RNG twice in a row, and people probably wouldn't even notice it was exactly the same as the last time they played. That's
Maybe I'm just someone who's played like Mario Kart 8 a lot of the time, but I would notice, so shut the fuck up. I would notice, so your point is invalid.
how incidental the feature is. It's It's nothing more than a feature you hear about and go, oh, that's neat. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be surprised if a lot of you watching didn't even know the jumps were randomized. And when the most interesting thing about your track simply does not even...
I just don't think that's the most interesting thing, though. The most interesting thing is simply just that, like, it allows you to, like, trick a lot, you know?
Matter. Am I just crazy for not liking this map? I feel like I'm crazy. I gotta be crazy, right? There are so many hardcore defenders of this track. Like, what is going on? Listen, there's nothing wrong with dumb fun, and I certainly don't want people to feel bad for liking something. In fact, if it makes anyone feel better, I should admit I'm one of those sickos that actually enjoyed playing Sonic Forces, even though that game
for fuck's sake, why am I watching this video then? No, Jay, why am I watching this video? Why am I listening to why am I listening to a guy's opinion on someone when they like Sonic Forces? Are you kidding? For fuck's sake.
A little more than boosting down hallways. It's just fun to feel like you're going fast, and that's nothing to be ashamed of.
And that's exactly why people like Excitebike Arena.
In fact, I would wager that's why a lot of people also like Excitebike Arena.
Yes, you get it.
Being said, if I can be introspective enough to realize I enjoyed playing a poorly designed game because it felt cool, then I think it's only fair for the Excitebike enjoyers of the world to be modest enough to also admit, okay, this is dumb mindless fun, and I'm okay with that.
That's why people like the track. People like it because it's dumb minus fun. No one is disagreeing with you. Why are you acting like they do?
Holding this up on a pedestal like it's this misunderstood track with layers of...
Who does this? Find me them. Send me like screenshots of these people defending this track in that way. People are just gonna defend it with, it's just kind of fun because you can trick a lot. That's why people like it, man. I don't know what this rant you're going on.
Strategic depth. Like, it's not, okay? Y'all just being a bunch of silly whores. Alright, how about you say we wrap this thing up and make our last stop at the Booster Course DLC? I'm definitely not...
So, is he going for, like... So he didn't do a fucking, what's it? He didn't do a retro for the DLC then. Interesting. Totaka.
Reinforce the accusation.
And for me, it's Totaka.
I'm a cynical asshole that hates everything, because I'm not. I like Pib, you know, like the soda. That's something. But my god, looking at all the Booster Course tracks for this video made me feel like a kid in a candy store. There is some good stuff here, but there's also so much dog shit. Like,
that's just the online, man. I'm sorry for you, but like that's just
damn. I may have spent 5 years talking about Excitebike, but that track is goated compared to some of the selection here. My no circuit tracks rule definitely let a decent amount of stuff make it.
Oh yeah, Twin Circuit's a socket. Shit, I forgot. What else from the probably Sky Garden? Maybe, yeah, Sky Garden. I don't know, probably. Would I agree? Let me think. So you got Prash Promenades, Choco Islands, not Choco Islands, Choco Mountain. Coconut Mall, Shroom Ridge, Tokyo Blast. Oh no, Tokyo Blast way worse. Tokyo Blast way worse. You kidding? And I think he's probably just gonna agree, to be honest.
Clean escape out this video, but dude, Gold Cups Toad Circuit, Internit Cups Mario Circuit 3. Just wow. I know the Booster Course Pass has some hardcore defenders, but I would actually be shocked to see anyone try to defend these two. But no circuit track.
I will genuinely defend Mario Circuit 3 a bit. I think having a track in the game that is literally just a flat track with just like turns is kind of good to have. Am I annoyed it's Mario Circuit 3 again? Yes, but I think its inclusion isn't as terrible as people say it is.
Tracks means no circuit tracks, so what else do we got? Well, Tokyo Blur isn't particularly interesting, especially for a track with 3 different routes. Not terrible, but fairly boring. Sky Garden.
Oh, terrible!
Garden is a tempting choice just for how much I simplified it alone. Absolutely one of my favorite retros in
So it's not Sky Garden and it's not fucking Tokyo Blur. Maybe he doesn't like how much they butchered Coconut Mall, even though I think they, on the whole, if you really care about like visuals, I think on the whole they made it better. I don't know, what does he say?
Yes, it had a great layout and especially cool shortcuts. If you compare the layout to how it was in GBA and DS to how it returned later, and it's clear to see that it returned in name only. Not a god-awful track, but incredibly disrespectful if you ask me. Sky High Sunday I would probably describe as a worse version of
Wait, what? Is it, wait, what? Come on.
No circuit tracks means no circuit tracks, so what else do we got? Well, Tokyo Blur isn't particularly interesting, especially for a track with 3 different routes. Not terrible, but fairly boring. Sky Garden is a tempting choice just for how much I simplified it alone.
So did he go with Sky Garden? That's the last one he talks about, I guess, yeah. Okay, could Could have made it a little bit clearer, but okay.
turned in name only, not a god-awful
I mean, fair considering you're running out Toad Circuit, but I feel like putting this below Tokyo Blow is kind of wild.
track, but incredibly disrespectful if you ask me. Sky High Sunday I would probably describe as
Okay, but I think it's just judging off like the length of this segment. Yeah, it's just Sky Sunday, isn't it? And I do agree.
a
And I
worse
probably would have guessed that anyways.
like Sight Bike, which is weird to say because there's definitely a lot more going on at a glance, like blind jumps, anti-gravity blind jumps, so you're slowly falling in the air for way too long, a needless use of anti-grav in general, making steering more slippery for no
shortcuts, though.
discernible reason. This rail that you clip through.
Yeah, that's
In
dumb.
theory, I love the vibrant colors, but the texture work is really flat here. These pink supports don't even look like they're being affected by a lighting engine. London Loop before
I will say, I think, as much as I think that like the BCP, yeah, it's annoying that the graphics aren't as good as they could be, it's not something that ever bothered me too much. It is especially bad in Sky High Sunday, in my opinion. It's the only track I would ever, when I do like an 8 ranking, that's the only track I'm going to be ranking like lowly because of how bad like it looks, you know? Let's see, Wave 3, he's showing London Loop now, and this segment is a bit longer, so I don't think he's going for it, unless he wants to rant about London Loop for a long time. So what else is in Wave 3? I'm trying to remember. Wave 3. I don't know. I'm trying. Maybe I might pull it up on my phone. Hold on. Let me just give me 1 minute. I'll pull it up on my phone so I can just have a look. BCP Waves Mario Kart 8. Can I get like an image maybe? I guess I cannot. There we go. So Wave 3 has. I believe that is. Oh no, this is a fucking fan prediction. Never mind. Okay, never mind. Give me the real one, man. Come on. Prediction? No, predictions, man. Come on. Why are these all just predictions? Show me the real thing. I think this is it. So you got London Loop, Boo Lake, Alpine Pass, Maple Treeway, Berlin Byways, Peach Gardens, Merry Mountain, 3DS Rainbow Road. Probably just Merry Mountain last for me, and then I think it's just probably going to agree. Or he spends a lot of time in this section, and I feel like Merry Mountain's too short to talk about. So I don't think there's Berlin Byways or London Loop. Then he might. I reckon, right? He's one of those who's like Peach Gardens is made too easy. I think he goes to Peach Gardens, which personally I love Peach Gardens way more in this version. But I think he goes to Peach Gardens.
we're playing all these for this video, I thought was a fine enough course, but there's a decent list of gaming sins here. In these tour tracks, you can't really rely on the minimap since it never updates, so you just have to react to what you see.
Of course,
That being the case, check this out. So here I am. There's a very clear path up ahead that looks like it veers to the left there, so I bunny hop so I can drift left. And oh, that's nice.
But annoying, but you could probably just correct this with another bunny hop.
Giant red arrows appear after I'm already committed to the turn.
Okay, you just gotta suck at the game.
I mean, even without that blunder, I'm not really a fan of the tracks where the layout is so unintuitive. It feels like you're being guided by giant red arrows the whole time instead of naturally following a cohesive route. Then you got this jump that gives you next to no time to turn once you finally land. A lot of weirdly angled sidewalks get awkward.
So is it London Loop? No, it doesn't mean there's not much time.
Hold on. Also, honestly, this is super subjective, but I'm really not a big fan on the lighting, or more specifically, the dense fog on this map. It just makes everything look cold and depressing. Maybe that's more accurate, but this is Mario. And likewise, shouldn't the idea behind these tracks based on real-world locations be to pay respects and be flattering to the places in question?
No, it's London, mate. Paint it how it is. It's fucking shit, mate. It's a shithole. Also, his criticism a bit. How do you mess up criticizing London Loop? You get caught on a couple things? What was
Weirdly
that?
angled sidewalks get awkwardly caught on. Also,
Mate, I think you just suck at the game.
honestly, this is... Guys, shouldn't the idea behind these tracks based on real-world locations be to pay respects
Let's see what
and
else
be
he has to
flattering
say.
to the places in question? Rome Avanti is sort of similar in that I
Because it
thought
is
I liked
London
this one a
Loop.
lot more until I replayed it again recently. To Rome's credit, there's a lot more creativity and interesting set pieces. And the track certainly...
I don't know how like controversial this is. I think Rome Avanti is like one of the better tour cities. I think it's like top 3 or top 4. I think maybe beating I think my top 3 is probably like. Oh no, I like Madrid a lot as well. Okay, top 5.
It's nicer, but it is similar to London in that...
But I still quite like it. I think it's a decent tour city track.
This feels less like a race course and more like a city model where you're constantly being pulled left and right by forcibly placed red arrows. Berlin Byways...
I don't know, me personally, I don't think the red arrows were ever like a massive issue. I thought it was just kind of like yeah, they've got to do it to keep it like tall. I don't know.
Referred to exhibits A and B. 3DS Rainbow Road. Okay, this is an awesome layout, but there's something I said way back when this first dropped, and I wanted to reiterate because I'm salty as fuck about it.
It's not as good as the original?
Said I didn't like the new colors. I thought the lighting was too dark and drab, and more importantly, the Rainbow Road was no longer—
I much prefer how the Rainbow Road looks in this game. I know it maybe looks like a little bit too blue from like far away, but I love how like different it is from like any other Rainbow Road. It just looks so nice. It kind of looks like liquidy in a sense. Oh, I love how it looks.
a
It's so
vivid
good.
rainbow. It was just like blue. Had a couple of y'all just say I was colorblind, so here you go. Here is a side-by-side comparison to how vivid it looks in 7.
No, we
to
get what
how
you
it
mean.
looks
We get what
in
you mean.
it.
But I just like how
you
it is in
don't
this
see
version.
any differences compared to the original. The
No,
one
no,
in
we
8
see the
doesn't look
differences.
any more blue.
We
I
see the
feel
differences.
Like I'm literally living
We
inside
see the
that
differences.
office
Come on,
view
move along,
template of
come on.
controlling, like,
They're the same picture.
Wave 4.
So what was his pick? No way his pick was 3DS Rainbow Road just because some people got angry at him for saying the road was blue. There is no fucking way. What was the point? Come on.
No notes on Wave 4.
You got what?
Good job, Fruit and Boomerang Cup. Wave 5.
No, you've got to pick a worst. You've got to... What the fuck are you doing? You've got to pick a worst track. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that at all.
Athens Dash is a map I wish I liked.
What's the point of the worst track at every Mario Kart and then you just don't pick a worst track? No, this come on, Silohawk, right? Yeah, Silohawk, come on.
Conceptually cool, driving through a bunch of ruins is a sick foundation for a track. Plus, it's a tour track
I think we all agree Athens Dash is the best tour city, right? Come on.
doesn't take place in a city, so that's
Right,
pretty
come
neat.
on.
But I don't think there's a single other track in 8 that makes it more apparent that it was clearly designed with Mario Kart Tour in mind. AKA the game where you can never get caught on anything since it always automatically maneuvers you around obstacles. There's the obvious offenders like these pillars that are placed directly
Never had an issue with them personally. I think you just need to get better.
after this jump, just waiting for you to run into
Why the fuck did you not use your super horn? Like, okay, I don't want to do the thing of like, oh, he's bad at the game, that's why he's saying this and this. But he just keeps proving it with footage. What was
these
this?
offenders like these pillars that are placed directly
You go straight into it,
after this jump,
and then you just let yourself get hit by the blue shell. You have a super horn. Use it.
waiting for you to run into them. I mean, you can't maneuver much in midair, so if you just happen to take a jump at the wrong angle, you're boned. But
Yeah, so you need to angle your jumps better. That's the fucking point.
there's also jumps like this that will literally just throw you straight into a wall. Then of
That's because you're on 200cc. 200cc the game has never been built for, so you need to drift beforehand in preparation for it. 200cc is meant to be for people who know the tracks. You clearly do not.
course, the map just looks bad. Not from an artistic standpoint, but definitely from a technical one. I don't know if these people still exist, but at launch, there was a very vocal group of defenders that would brush off visual critiques as people looking for things to complain about. But really,
I personally don't see how he's gonna say that Athens is one of the worst looking tracks. I think it's one of the better looking ones.
just look at this jump right here. It seems like the idea was to make a money shot, if you will, putting the track out of frame to give you a better look at that vista. But then you actually look at the horizon, and it's just a bunch of completely untextured building blocks.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most impressive, but if we're being entirely honest, how long are you spending on this jump? Maybe like 2 seconds? Give or take? Is that enough to really take it in? I think for how like much time you spend on this bit, it not being like the most textured is like fine. Yeah.
This is usually the
A bit annoying, but you know, I don't think it's like ruining the track.
part where said defenders say that critiquing the background is nitpicking because you're supposed to be paying attention to what's ahead on the course. But what course? This is literally taking up more.
But you're arguing with shadows, mate. There's obviously people who are stupid. The correct thing is like, yeah, it's a bit annoying, but like you're not spending too much time on it, so like whatever, you know.
More than half the screen. What was the point of angling the camera in this way and moving the course out of frame if you weren't supposed to look at the horizon? When these people get to this point of the track,
obviously.
if you see this, you would have to try to not see the background.
No,
here.
no,
Map
not
types are
disagree.
also pretty
Jesus
pointless,
Christ.
But to be fair, that's sort of an issue most
This is this video. It's like it's too much just arguing with shadows, and it gets really annoying after a while.
booster course tracks have. Then there was this weird thing. I kind of just wanted to show it off. Honestly, I
have
think the
never
only
had that happen to me, so I don't know what you did.
saving grace for me is that I really do like the creativity on display here. There are some fun ideas.
come on.
It's just massively unpolished. But yeah, I think that's it.
I don't know what you mean.
There
man.
are some fun ideas. It's just massive.
Because you went straight into the fucking wall. What are you talking about?
Unpolished. But yeah, I think that's it right there. The knowledge that if they were to remake this with more refined design, it would likely be one of the better tracks. That alone makes me not hate this one entirely. Los Angeles Laps, I wrote it down here as a contender, so I think I wanted my future self to elaborate. That being said, I don't think this one is that bad. I mean, yeah, the half pipes are pointless, and I don't know why they included
Hey, if you think this is better than Athens, then I'm assuming you are American and you are just fucking simping for your own country.
To show off LA, sort of an unflattering and more notably ugly thing to throw in, but the actual track layout here is decent enough. Sunset Wilds, oh man, everyone hated this one when it dropped. So the big gimmick with the original version on Game Boy, and of course the explanation of the track's name to begin with, is that as the race reached its end, it would go from sunset to nightfall. A cool effect, and one that was even kept for the tour version, not here in 8. The sun stays out start to finish, spitting on the original intent. Also, I just realized I lied about saying everyone hated this at launch, because now I remember there were definitely people defending this omission by saying the effect was not possible to recreate in 8's engine. A claim that was pretty quickly disproven by the fans, I might add. This version of the track is also...
it's annoying that some people are dumb, but you know... Do we need to mention this?
Missing the TPs you could run into that would unleash an angry Shy Guy, and much like Sky...
Yeah, and replace them with...
8's engine.
Other Shy Guys. So, Jesus Christ, my dog just started barking. So, what the fuck's the issue with that? They replaced them with a different obstacle that I'd argue is maybe a bit more difficult. Maybe not as punishing, but a bit more difficult. I think just like the gimmick of like something latching onto your car just isn't done in Mario Kart anymore, so you can't really again, how do you mess up a critique of fucking what's it? A sunset.
A claim that was pretty quickly disproven by the fans, I might add. This version of the track is also missing the TPs you could run into that would unleash an angry Shy Guy, and much like Sky Garden, the layout has been simplified, removing a few turns. A little
I mean... How they changed? I guess it changed a little bit, I suppose. But I mean, they replaced that bit at the end of like some ramps, so I don't think it was a terrible change.
disrespectful, but I'm still more offended by the new
How have you got me? How have you got me defending fucking Sunset Wild? Jesus
Sky Garden.
Christ.
Although that might just be because I prefer that map in general. I already briefly talked about what was wrong with this new version of Rosalina's Ice World earlier in this video, so that just leaves us with Koopa Cave.
That's not in wave 5. You got the waves wrong. You got the fucking waves wrong, bro. Did you just stop? Because like originally this video was like solid. There was some really good analysis. I mean, there was some weird rants, but there was like some good analysis. There was some weird placements of your rants, but there was some good analysis. What happened? You just didn't pick a least favorite for wave 4, and then you've gotten the wait. What happened to the quality, man?
Koopa
This
Cave
video
is an
sounded so
all-time favorite of mine in
good.
Wii, but it suffers from many of the issues a lot of these new Booster Course tracks suffer from. Pointless half pipes, really bad camera angles, I mean like really bad camera angles, an underwater and anti-grav segment for the sloppiest wheels possible. Also, since it's underwater, there's no water current that lets you pick up some speed like there was in Wii. Might seem
I gotta
small,
say, it's a bit of an unfortunate change.
but the water stream and the electricity bars you had to dodge added a lot to the original. Some weird collisions like this, and overall just a general lack of polish. But that's all the contenders, so which is the worst in the Booster Course Pass?
Well, that's it. Wait, so you're not even gonna... Oh, so this was like to go through and pick one for the worst of the Booster Course Pass? Why didn't you waste my time like this? Why didn't you just go through like your least favorite for each one and then do it? Why did you go over for like 5 of each? That is such a waste of time, I'm gonna be honest.
I don't know. I just like every track I listed off for completely different reasons. Okay, I know I said I was only picking one track out of all of the Booster Course Pass, but fuck it. I'm cheating again. We're going one track per wave because I literally...
So then why are you doing... Just do that in the first place? Fucking hell, Ref.
Wave 1's worst track is Sky Garden because I honestly think it spits in the face of the original layouts, and I think the new one isn't particularly interesting. Wave 2's worst has got to be Sky High Sunday for a plethora of reasons I listed off earlier. London Loop for Wave 3. Again, not until replaying it did I really realize how bad and forced the layout was. Wave 4. Wait, I didn't talk about any of these. I really do think that Wave 4 was overall the best wave that we got. I would probably say that Amsterdam Drift is the worst.
Oh, he doesn't like Amsterdam. Fucking hell.
Map where you feel like you're being forcibly guided by red narrow as opposed to anything more coherent, but even then, this track isn't that bad. Wave 5, Jesus, I talked about 4 of these. Damn, I hated Wave 5 or some. Athens is unpolished, Sunset Wilds is lazy and disrespectful, and Koopa Cape has many small changes that I think make it worse than the original on Wii. Athens and Koopa Cape upset me more for not living up to their full potential, but trying to be objective. I would say that Sunset Wilds is the worst for simplifying the layouts and removing key track features, most notably the sunset transition. And finally, Wave 6. I talked about it during the Mario Kart 7 segment, but the worst here has got to be Rosalina's Ice World, which was a cool, haha, track originally, but remade here with worse colors and bad camera angles. Truth be told, this is another one that isn't awful, it's just the weakest of Wave 6,
I think I
really.
disagree. Not disagree, I think I agree. On that being the worst Wave 6 track, to be fair.
So there's the worst of each wave. Don't ask me which one is the worst of the entire DLC because I seriously couldn't pick one. If you
just make a decision.
think the decision is easier than I'm making it out to be, then by all means, say what you think it is in the comments. And the first person to have absolutely no one disagree with them gets a Switch 2 when they go to the store and buy one for full price. As I reach the end of this video, Nintendo actually showed off the newest in the series, which will be called Mario Kart World. And by the time that this video is out, they will have had a full direct just to highlight said game. I gotta say, I'm pretty hyped. Mostly the play as a cow. It would appear 2 of the tracks mentioned in this very video will be returning. Wario Stadium from 64 and Sky High Sunday, both of which seeing some notable changes. Wario Stadium is unfortunately yet again another victim to track simplification, although maybe that's...
But it's for the best, right?
It's actually an upgrade because...
okay. I don't know why he's talking about this though, I'm kind of curious.
Longer take 5 minutes to complete a single race. Modern Mario Kart seems to have an aversion to just making longer tracks with 2 laps opposed to 3, so if all the tracks must really be 3 laps, then I think that trimming the fat was a good move there. As for Sky High Sunday, there appears to be this new grinding mechanic that makes those rails you awkwardly clipped through in the past now something that you can grind on Tony Hawk style. There's more routes to take.
I love the look of this Sky High Sunday, and not only just graphics, but just like the layout, like the more like alternate paths. Like, it looks so good.
Obstacles to dodge. Genuinely, it looks like a solid update. Still not huge on the tracks where you're majorly driving straight the whole time, especially since, you know, snaking is no longer a thing. But I might just have to...
Oh yeah, he did mention he grew up with DS and GCN. Of course he's a snake, Andy. Get out of here.
Suck it up, honestly, because especially if the whole World Tour thing the new game has going on, you know, if driving from track to track for the Grand Prix, I get the impression that drifting is probably going to be less emphasized than ever before. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, I'm getting way off topic. I never even declared an all-time worst now that we've gone through all the games. Honestly, out of everything, I think the absolute worst course in the series is DS's version of Baby Park. I still think that Baby...
Do I agree? Yeah, I think I agree. I think, you know what, sort of, we had a couple of disagreements, you know, but, you know, in the end, you know what, fine. Fair judgment. Come on.
Baby Park is great in Double Dash for the reasons I've already outlined in this video, but the version in Mario Kart DS is so boring. Again, Baby Park is a track that lives and dies by said game's item meta, and the item meta in DS is not great. Yeah. Outside the abundance of blue shells, DS might have the most tame-feeling item play of all the games. That being said, it should be noted that DS is a more mechanically involved Mario Kart than most, especially since it was the last game of
the game of snaking,
So in most cases, a de-emphasized item meta doesn't really matter since it's not where the heart of the game lies, but it's also why the track had no right to return in DS of all games. Apologies, it's been like 50 years since my last upload. I hope
you just talking about like upload stuff now? I think so, right? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Overall, this isn't a bad video. Just some really weird rants here and there. I don't think the best critiques later on. I think your whole booster course section was just really, gonna be honest, lazy. I feel like it was just kind of like, I don't like this one, and I don't like this one, and here's my really boring take. I think the Excite Bike section, if you put that much analysis into every single one, I would have loved that. I just think that, like, this is, like, the worst one to put that so much in, because it's just kind of like, you're making up points, in a sense, you know? I think that's a really weird way to put it, but I think that's, like, the best way I can kind of describe it. Like, the analysis on, like, Baby Park, great. Why didn't you put it in the DS section? I don't know. Apart from that, though, I mean, solid video. Obviously, I disagreed with quite a bit, but, that's what keeps it fun. I think this video's already probably long enough. I don't wanna go, like, dive into the comments, because it's probably just gonna be... actually, you know, fine, we'll check a couple. I didn't expect the most controversial to be, no psychic rule tracks, great, yeah. Oh, Cartucci. How does everyone... Oh, he's not. Oh, he's not based. He's not. Oh, fuck off, man. I mean, unsubscribed. Okay, here's why people hate when if you miss that jump, like if it doesn't pick you up, you fall into an earlier part of the track. It's a setback that even though running can't recover from it. I had the misfortune of once being shrunk and flattened well over the gap. It took 5 seconds to float down. Crazy. As one was constant, all 4 of us were angry. Okay, not the most interesting conversation. Any crazy new ones? It's just like racism and you can work with drunk. It's not that I didn't know. I just don't know why anyone would do it. Is it Warrior says, "Daw, I missed back in the early day. They wanted it to be German." Oh, that's actually kind of interesting. Which was a more deluxe, not the Wii version, which has my brain. Gonna be honest, I don't know why that would be an issue. It should have to bunny hop. To be fair, like that might sound like stupid nowadays, but with how much like manuals were like important when the SNES came out, I would genuinely, good job, Eric Carmen. Good point. Very good point, actually. Yeah, manuals are such like a big thing for video games back in the day. That teaching you how to bunny hop is massive. I didn't even like consider that. I think what Toadstool does so Mario Kart 3 is fun because the amount of shotguns makes it easier to stick comebacks. Yeah, fair enough. There are 5 kinds of tricks that underwater tricks work differently. My head, you hate these side, but Drake, how dare you? You're a fake Mario Kart fan. Do you like Mario? You gotta be so. Okay, I'm stretching it a bit too far. Sorry. Not funny. Just stretch it further. Saying that I randomly working with someone I've never watched, just from to stand up, medium high and Toad side, like, and then next time, bro hates fun. And this is what you should think. Like, this is just a short comment. I had a little bit of like, critique. I think I like explained why I disagreed with a lot of what he was saying. Maybe not Toad's Turnpike. Which actually, I'll do that now. What I like about Toad's Turnpike. Actually, no, I did. Also, I do think the wolf like thing is quite interesting because it like allows you to like skip like the cars, which like that section of the track that the wolf's on, the cars can actually get like quite like packed. Anyways, that's all I have to say. I think. I'll link Silohawk's channel in the description because again, if I remember correctly, he makes pretty quality content, and this was a good quality video. I just disagree with a lot of his points, and I think like some of the analysis is just kind of lacking at places, and this section of the video was kind of a slog to get through. If you liked this video, like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification to become a little screw that I'll use to build my next table with. And with all of that said, fucking see ya.